Yeah. Full court press. CJ. Yeah. What we talking about? 94 feet, crossover bodies, dropping J's up. Players this elite, your shots on body blocking halftime. We break it down, we gon' call your bluff, it's past time. You recognize, boy, press. We got the heat down in Florida with the keys. Yes, we the best. Magic, we flash with them fans listen, won't see the best. Show rise from the airwaves like all stars in them stairways. Local rockin', we not stopping, got hot topics like every day. Them trades hit that deadline. My team chasing the big ring. We ball, check that headline. Don't mess it up when you big teams. The only station giving y'all that info with that real talk. Don't be trying to contest it. Go toe to toe and get wheeled off. We shooting from deeper than that report from the bleachers. If you ain't on your game, then we got something to teach you. Tie your laces up, might get shook up out of them sneakers. That triple threat, bless your eardrum straight out of your speakers. Go from that black top to the hardwood. Locker room to that press day. Got the scoop on them contracts, new prospects and best plays. NBA defined by the grind, in between the lines, full court pressing, finessing, read the signs. What we talking about? 94 feet, crossover bodies, dropping J's up.
Good morning, basketball world. We're back after a 2-week hiatus. This is the Around the Association podcast. This is the New Year's edition of the show, and I'm your host, Dane Thompson, checking in with you on this wonderful, beautiful New Year's Day. Happy New Year's to everybody listening to the show, subscribe to the podcast, and all things NBA. Yes, we took a 2-week hiatus just to get some things taken care of. Rest, recharge, get ready for a brand new year, 366, because we have a leap year, days of the NBA season. We're going to be going forward. I can't wait to be with you. Follow me on Twitter at DannyDanny number 3 Thompson on Twitter, as well as AroundTheAssociation.com, Around the Association's Facebook page, and as well as AroundTheAssociation.com. Subscribe to the podcast everywhere you're going to find podcasts, which includes Spotify, Podomatic, Google Podcasts. We're in the iTunes store, where anywhere podcasts can be found. So, we're not going to recap the games from yesterday. We're going to look into the 2020 crystal ball. The ball's dropped. The year and the decade's over, and with so many things and so many questions going on in the NBA, I'm going to give you my top 5 things I think are going to happen in 2020 around the National Basketball Association. So feel free to disagree with me. Feel free to comment on it, because this is the part of the year where we start making New Year's resolutions and predictions. So let's start with which I think is the number 5 thing that we're going to look for in 2020. Well, 2020 will bring the debut of Zion Williamson, but even when he shows up, hopefully sometime in January, he will not win the Rookie of the Year. We've said this from the very beginning. I said this from the very beginning of the season, and even with Zion expected to miss some parts of the season, include up to Christmas Day and potentially longer, I didn't think Zion Williamson was going to be the MVP, the Rookie of the Year across the NBA. I said from the very beginning that it was supposed to be RJ Barrett, and beginning on the first part of the year, at the end of the year, Ja Morant was phenomenal. He did everything you asked him to do. He's been so far phenomenal. He did miss a little bit of time. He's doing the little things that you asked him to do. He's also becoming a scorer. He's a leader in everything that Grizzly fans have been asking Ja Morant to be from the very beginning. Morant leads pretty much rookies in all major categories, including scoring and assists. He's been playmaking. He's been exciting. What Ja Morant has been doing as a rookie is been earth shattering. I think not earth shattering, but record breaking. But he's also been everything you've asked for him to be, and Grizzly fans have gotten him and Brandon Clark, who I think has been the steal of the draft, as a great foundation with Jaren Jackson, who's figuring things out as he's going through things. And the Grizzlies have a nice little future for going into the summer, going into the rest of the season and the future. But as good as Ja Morant's been, the Rookie of the Year still be RJ Barrett. So my bold prediction number 1 is RJ Barrett will still win Rookie of the Year. Why would I say that? Well, here's the thing with RJ Barrett. Right now, what Barrett has been doing is that, like a lot of the rookies, he had to go through changes at the beginning of the season. And the major change was David Fizdale being gone and Mike Miller taking over as the head coach of the New York Knicks. What this does for him is that it's taking a little bit of time for him to get readjusted, learn the game a little bit better. And, with RJ's a scorer. And for those watching in college, his scoring has always been his trademark. He gets to the rim, he scores buckets, He's the type of guy that's been pretty solid defensively at times, had a little bit of moments, but RJ's job is to get buckets. Now, the Knicks are going to be some transition in the second half of the season. There's going to be trades going along. Okay, the Knicks have won 5 more games under Miller than they've won under David Fizdale before he was let go a couple weeks ago. Now, what does that mean for RJ going into what's going on right now? When the changes happen, it's going to happen, I think, more sooner than later. What's going to be done for him is that there's going to be plenty of opportunities for him to take advantage of getting the ball more. He's going to take more shots. And with the fact of him slowing down offensively, potentially maybe hitting that rookie wall, he is going to be the guy that is going to step things up right now. Right now, RJ Barrett right now is fifth among rookie scoring at about 13, almost 14 points a game. His shooting hasn't been there, and it's coming around. He's shooting it right at 39% from the floor, which is not anywhere close to what Ja Morant or Kendrick Nunn are doing. Who are, like I said, both those two guys are the top 2 guys for Rookie of the Year. But when it's all said and done, I think RJ Barrett is going to catch things up. Don't worry, Barrett had a very, very good start to the season. He slowed down a little bit. If you look at the numbers for Barrett in this season, if you look at his splits, this is where you look at different things about him. In the first 3 months of his rookie season, it's been kind of calculated. November got to the good start, right? Putting up, those 5 games in November, averaging 18 points a game. The numbers have gone down, but just remember, the play has changed. But when the Knicks start unloading guys like, I think, Bobby Portis, you'll see Taj Gibson probably getting moved. You'll see some of these veterans, maybe even Marcus Morris, I think, who's been the Knicks' best player so far this season, get moved. Dennis Smith Jr. has potentially asked for a trade request. When some of these guys start getting out of the way, you're going to see a lot more of RJ Barrett. You're going to see a lot more Kevin Knox. What Barrett has been working on is the fact of these guys start shooting the ball better. If you look at the last month, actually his shooting percentage has gone down. Free throw percentage has gone up. But he started at 47% to start the season, down to 35%. I expect him to pick it up in January. He played better in January at Duke. He's still getting used to everything. And like I said, the Maple Mamba will be back in his better shooting slump. And I think he will win Rookie of the Year for the second, based on the second half of the season. And I think he's going to pick it up probably starting as early as today. The next thing I'm saying is going to come true in 2020 is, well, this one is going to be a little bit more complex than anything else. It's going to be the rise of the Indiana Pacers. I'm saying the Pacers are going to be the team in the Eastern Conference that the Milwaukee Bucks did not want to face in the playoffs. I think they're one of 2 teams that can beat the Bucks in a 7-game series in the playoffs. Yes, I said the Indiana Pacers. They're going to get back Victor Oladipo sometime in January. When Victor Oladipo gets back, it's going to be a process. Like I said, kind of the same thing with RJ Barrett, but the difference is Oladipo will put himself in a situation where he's going to get himself healthy. And the Pacers are going to let him come back at his own time and go back at his own pace. But if anybody knows Victor Oladipo, watch Oladipo. His work ethic is second to none in the NBA. He's ready to come back. He's itching to come back. And I don't think if he doesn't come back, he's going to come back and play full throttle. But he's going to play limited minutes. The most important thing is the Pacers have been playing above float without him. Going into their victory on New Year's Day, I think they were 23-12 after they won yesterday against the Philadelphia 76ers. What does that mean for Victor and company? The Pacers are right there in the top 5 in the Eastern Conference. They're right in striking distance, which means with Oladipo coming back, it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get adjusted. I don't think it's going to take long. But when he gets back, by the time we get to the playoffs, the Pacers right now are 5. They can end up probably maybe 4, maybe even 3. If you look at the standings right now in the Eastern Conference, they're only 2.5 games behind the Miami Heat for the 3rd spot in the Eastern Conference. Actually, even 2.5 back of the Boston Celtics for the 2nd spot. Not saying the Pacers get 2, but if they get in that 4-5 range and they get a second-round date with the Milwaukee Bucks, Oladipo's going to be completely healthy, on top of the fact that Malcolm Brogdon gets his former team. And we all know the Bucks have had issues in the backcourt, especially Eric Bledsoe in the playoffs. You got Malcolm Brogdon. You have Victor Oladipo. You have Domantas Sabonis. You also have a healthy TJ Warren. You have Jeremy Lamb. You also have Miles Turner. The Pacers are loaded and stacked to win. You have Nate McMillan, who's one of the best coaches in the NBA. The Pacers can shoot the basketball, and as long as they're pretty solid on the road and they win at home. I think if the Pacers end up with the Bucks in the playoffs, the Bucks have a shot of being eliminated. The only two teams I can see without making any moves beating the Bucks in the series will be the Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers. I don't believe in the Sixers. I don't believe in Miami. And Toronto, I don't think Toronto has enough to guard Giannis or enough to score the basketball in this situation. I like Indiana if they get in the playoff series with Milwaukee to potentially beat the Milwaukee Bucks. The third thing on my list, and my third resolution, the third thing I can see in 2020 this entire year is, well, we're getting close to draft season, which means it's going to be who is the best player in the draft. The number one overall pick in the draft will always be determined on where is the lottery balls and the ping pong balls are slotted. So really, you don't know who's going to be picking number one until we get here. But I will say this. The number one overall pick, if it ends up in the hands of the Golden State Warriors, the player will not play 1 minute for the Golden State Warriors. That's the prediction. If the Warriors end up with the first overall pick, I see the pick getting traded. Why? Why would the pick get traded? There's a guy sitting in Minnesota waiting to be traded who's disengaged with the franchise right now. I can see this potentially happening with Karl Anthony Towns. If he's so displeased with being there, a trade could happen to get D'Angelo Russell and his best friend to play on the same team, which would add Karl Anthony Towns to a team that we're getting a returning Stephen Curry, a returning Klay Thompson, and also Draymond Green to reform the superpower. So what does that mean? The Warriors' down season in 2019, 2020 will turn them back into NBA to probably the favorites to win the championship in the 2020-21 season, right before we get to Giannis being a free agent in 2021. I say if the Warriors end up with the first overall pick, I'm going to say this now, that pick will not play one game in Golden State. That's the bold prediction. They will trade the pick, and more likely, I see a potential cat running around in the Bay Area next summer. Also, the fourth thing I see in this whole thing in 2020 and prediction wise, well, we're looking around the league and we see the Lakers and the Clippers and the Nuggets dominating in the Western Conference, but there's one team lurking right now, and they're only a game and a half out of the final playoff spot in the Western Conference. I think the Phoenix Suns will make a move at the deadline to go get a player. I think they're the ones that Mark Stein made a report yesterday that there's a potential player that could be a potential team that could actually take on a trade for Kevin Love. The Phoenix Suns are in perfect position to make a deal for Kevin Love. You look at their roster, they're a game and a half out of the spot. I know he's been linked to the Portland Trail Blazers. I see a realistic possibility, but I'm not sure if the Cleveland Cavaliers want to take on Tristan Thompson as well as trade Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love and potentially take back Hassan Whiteside in the free agent year. I see the Phoenix Suns finding some kind of way of making this deal happen. What can you offer in a trade? Well, DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker are not involved in the deal. Ricky Rubio is one of the reasons why this deal is going to happen. I think there's going to be draft picks involved in it. I do think there's going to be a player like Mikal Bridges involved in it or Cameron Johnson, as well as Tyler Johnson to make salaries work. And I think the Suns will trade the 2020 first round pick and a 2022 first round pick, and somehow Tristan Thompson gets redirected. But I think if Kevin Love does get traded, I think Kevin Love will be a member of the Phoenix Suns before the end of the season, and the Suns will make a run at the playoffs because at that point you have Rubio, you have Booker, you have Kelly Oubre, you have Love, you have DeAndre Ayton, you have Aaron Baines. The Suns will win the 8th spot in the playoffs. I think the Suns will trade for Kevin Love, and they'll end up getting the 8th spot over San Antonio and Oklahoma City. I think that's going to happen. I think Phoenix and Portland will get this together, and they'll both make the playoffs. Last but not least, the final prediction I see in 2020, or the final thing I see in my crystal ball, is have a little bit of fun here in this one. Well, the 8th spot in the Eastern Conference has basically been up for grabs. The Orlando Magic can't seem to figure out how to win games, and they're supposed to win because guess what? They're 4-12 on the road, and then they just lost on their final game of the decade at home to an Atlanta Hawks team that has only, at the time, 6 wins. They're the worst team in the Eastern Conference and do not have Trae Young. Here's the bold prediction. The Magic will miss the playoffs this year. That's bold. What's really even bolder is that the team that will get in the playoffs is the team in Charlotte. For some strange reason, the Buzz have figured out ways to win games. Actually, no, the bold prediction, I have written down completely different. The Charlotte Hornets have been playing some good basketball. Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier is one of the best shooting backcourts in the NBA, three-point percentage and three-pointers made wise. But something about Charlotte and blowing leads in fourth quarters and not playing to their potential keeps them out of the playoffs. Orlando has more talent than anybody else in this division, but for some reason, the Magic are now going through something they didn't go through last year, which is adversity and injuries. Al-Farouq Aminu has no timetable to come back. The Magic do not have a scorer right now. So unless they trade for a big-time scorer, and there's nothing against Evan Fournier, because Fournier is scoring the ball better than he's ever had in his entire career. Fournier is averaging career highs all across the board this season. I mean, he's averaging, over 20 points a game this season. I just don't see the Magic right now making the playoffs. It is what it is. Fournier's at 19.5 points a game, leading the Magic. I do think the Magic will trade Evan Fournier. The Magic will put themselves back in the lottery this year. The team that will jump them in the playoffs, well, if Charlotte's not going to do it, I don't see Detroit making a run, only because of the fact that Reggie Jackson's due back soon, and we all know how at Reggie Jackson things turn out with them. Washington doesn't have enough talent. Bradley Beal can only go so far, and it's fun watching the Wizards do things and score a lot of points. But the team, I think, that will make the playoffs, and I think they'll turn it around and be the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls right now will jump in front of the Orlando Magic and make the final spot in the Eastern Conference. I think with the way the Bulls are shaping up themselves right now to have a solid run in the second half of the season, this part of the year, the Bulls are supposed to be a playoff team or be close to it in the first place anyway. You have guys like Zach LaVine who are starting to buy into things, almost 24 points a game. They have a guy who can go get buckets. What's going to happen is for the Bulls is that they're going to start figuring out this defensive thing. You know, they're playing better on the road. They're 6-10 on the road, and they're 7-11 at home. They'll start winning games at home. They have a schedule that's a little bit much more easier to manage after the first of the year. If you look at their schedule, outside the Jazz game on Thursday, they have the Celtics at home, but then you have winnable games. I think they can beat Dallas. They can beat New Orleans on the road. You get the Pacers team that's still figuring things out, and then you have a stretch of Pacers, Celtics, and Wizards all before the middle of January. This will be the deciding factor if the Bulls can make the playoffs. If they go through this and split, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. If they split these 8 games up until you get to the Sixers on January 17th, the Bulls will figure things out. The Bulls will somehow balance themselves out, especially when you have a stretch at the end of the month, which include Timberwolves, Kings, and Cavs in 3 consecutive games with the Spurs. 4 teams that are basically 4 teams. And if you count the Cavs, 5 out of 6 games from January 18th to January 27th, the Bulls should be able to win those games. They should be able to get back close to 500 by the end of February, and you're looking right at the deadline. That's where the Bulls will somehow get this together. I'm a big proponent of the Magic. I'm down here in Orlando a lot. I live in Orlando. The injuries for the Magic and not having a big time scorer will affect them. Now the Magic will come out of the break playing 3 games in 4 nights. Wizards on the road, and then the back-to-back with the Heat and the Jazz this weekend. The Magic have somehow seemed not to figure out how to win games. I mean, they were blown out. They lost to the Hawks at home. They almost blew a humongous lead against the Sixers last Friday. The Magic have had issues holding on to leads and not winning games they're supposed to. This has been a very bad and a dangerous trend. Before the back-to-back wins before Christmas, the Magic had went through a stretch where they had lost 6 of 7. I mean, and really in most of these games, they really did not play very well. The Lakers game, they couldn't find ways to score against the Lakers. The Rockets outshot them. The Bucks just beat them because of the Bucks. The only win in that stretch was the Pelicans game in New Orleans on Sunday, December 15th. That's the only one they had in that stretch. Before that, the Magic had won 5 or 6 games. The Magic are too up and down right now. This is the part of the schedule where the Magic have always struggled in January. This is where the Magic made the turn last year. They also have the road trip coming up, which is including 5 games out west and then the Charlotte Hornets on January 20th. This is not a good stretch for the Magic. This could be the part of the year where the Magic either come together or fall apart. Unless Aaron Gordon can figure out himself, the Magic will miss the playoffs, no matter how good Jonathan Isaac's been. Until Aaron Gordon finds himself, he's not been good this season on the offensive side of the ball. He's done other things. The Magic wins the playoffs, and I'm picking the Bulls as my final prediction for 2020. They'll make the playoffs. The Magic will miss the playoffs and put themselves right back in the lottery. All right, so What do you think about my New Year's predictions? Am I right? Am I wrong? I want to see different otherwise. So I'll recap all 5 of them real quickly. We'll start from the last one we just did. I feel the Chicago Bulls will make the final playoff spot over the Orlando Magic. I believe the Golden State Warriors, if they end up with the first overall pick, will trade the pick for a player like Karl Anthony Towns or a veteran. I think Towns would be the option. They'll package a bunch of these young guys, Eric Paschall, as well as Alec Burks. They'll package these guys that they've gotten to go trade for a guy like Karl Anthony Towns. I do believe the Phoenix Suns will trade for Kevin Love and make the 8th spot in the playoffs. I do say that Zion Williamson will not win the NBA Rookie of the Year and be pretty much restricted, as R.J. Barrett has a second half to overtake Ja Morant and Kendrick Nunn for Rookie of the Year. And finally, the last part of my predictions is if the Indiana Pacers get their hands on the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs, the Bucks will not make the finals. I think the Pacers will beat the Bucks in a 7-game series. So, tell me if right, am I wrong? Let me know how things work out. Tell me your thoughts. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I completely crazy? Follow me on Twitter at Danny, D-A-N-Y, number 3 Thompson on Twitter, as well as the Around the Association Facebook page and the AroundTheAssociation.com. I'll check you guys later. And once again, enjoy your new year. Hope everybody's safe and prosperous. Let's get started for 2020. This is Danny Thompson for the Around the Association. Kick it out. The show, my man Cam James and Trackaholics. Peace.
Trackaholic music.
Go for launch.
Yeah. Full court pressure.